Okay. Yo, yo, yo. What's up, guys? Back again. Episode 3. As you can see, 2 brand new guests. I'm gonna introduce Chestnut first. How you doing?
Yo, what's up?
Yeah. And she's a lurking legend in the YouTube community, she's about to drop more content coming soon. And we have a longtime friend of the podcast. Y'all don't even know. This is the real Void Century, like, poneglyphs right here. King Recon.
Dude. Yeah, it feels so good to be talking with you all again, and it's a pleasure to meet you, Chestnut Chibi.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too, dude. I've heard. I made a TikTok video on this, and somebody's like, "Yo, you're going with live with King Recon," and I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right, I'm ready, man. I'm ready to hear this stuff. Let's go."
Yeah,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
my co-host, my right-hand man, Legend Mac. What's good?
Yo ho ho in a bottle of rum. What's going on, guys?
The old video intro.
I
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm excited for this episode because we got a great chapter, and I'm first time meeting Chestnut, so it's good to meet new people in the One Piece community that I don't know before. And Recon, I know Recon for so long, so it's like it's a reunion to meet Recon. You know?
it really is, bro.
It kind of feels like when Luffy ran into Law and Pakazir. It was like, yo, what's going on, yo? Long time, yo.
Facts. Yeah.
Yeah. So, starting off with the chapter. All right. No cover story this week.
There was actually a
Double spread.
a double spread picture, but they actually have the HQ scans of that now. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I did see that they have it finally.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, with this week, with all the scanlation wars, it's hard to tell like what the hell's going on at the start of the chapter because they're all trying to get it out so fast.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. But we start off on a crazy scene. We see Kuma flying through the air like Doflamingo-esque, all right? Just flying through the air. And look, man. First of all, like, all right, this is kind of a non-serious question, but when Kuma teleports himself, what do you think he pats himself on the back? You think he spanks himself a bit? What's good there? Like, what's going on?
You think he just might pound his chest a little bit? Like, yeah, I'm getting myself hyped up. Like, ooh.
So he'd have to like aim his body backwards, right? And then pound himself on the chest.
Yeah.
Bro was flying through the air like Superman.
He was. He was flying like Iron Giant in the movie. I was like, man, he was just going straight down into the red line. I was like, what's going on?
Yo, let's be honest here, yo. You guys know he felt that, yo. He's trying to hide it, but he actually felt that, yo.
Can he actually feel it though? Like my big thing is I don't really know how much human is left in Kuma. Like I'm wondering if there's just like nothing left and it's just like no
We're
pain,
getting
no
a really,
nothing.
sad, sentimental moment when Bonnie brings the human out of him.
Definitely.
Yeah. I'll cry. I mean, I cry at everything, but I'll cry for sure.
It's gonna be emotional, man. But let's say like if he landed there, do you think he landed there on purpose or like what's the goal here?
At first, I was like, on the way to Egghead, he crashed there. But after rereading it, I feel like it might actually have been his original destination. What do y'all think about that?
I think that if we here's my theory, right? We know that there was a robot that Vegapunk had been seeing from the ancient kingdom that had attacked Mary Joie 400, 200 years ago. Everybody likes to correct me on that. I don't know the exact date, but it was able to go there with the awakening of Joy Boy. What if Vegapunk understood this, put some of the ancient technology into Kuma, and now Kuma is basically going back to Marie Joie because that's his programming to do so, because there's been an awakening of Joy Boy. I think that is probably, well, at least I think that it could be possible that it's definitely some sort of programming that Vegapunk has been doing because we know that he's been trying to go against the world's government, and like it's a little weird that we got that little tidbit of the ancient kingdom, the ancient robot, how it attacked Marie Joie, and now we're seeing Kuma do that.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Honestly, it's like the whole 200 years ago thing. Whenever I hear about that, I'm like, okay, it's an object of the Void Century, and it goes to attack Mary Joas because let's say that's their their enemies, quote unquote, right? But how would that robot, unless it has direct orders, know that their enemies now live on top of the red line? Because clearly that wasn't always the case, right? We know the Lunarians were there before them. So how would it know that the world government is on top of the red line without receiving direct orders, or maybe it was called there by something. What do you guys think?
That's actually a good point. Like if it was called there, let's just say,
Yeah.
whether it be an emu or whatever the case may be called, what was calling the Iron Giant up there. Are you implying that a similar situation may have happened here with Kuma?
Look, man.
Or for that in particular, like the going off of what Chestnut was saying earlier.
Look, when it comes to One Piece, I'm not really a theorist. I'm a realist, right? So
I-
I try to look
I got-
back. I try to look back on panels and
Yeah.
put them side by side, and I'm like, okay, if Kuma was going to the red line, he wouldn't just launch himself into the wall unless he like doesn't have a handle on his fruit anymore. Usually, when they go flying, he decelerates before they reach their destination and leaves like a giant paw print, and they land safely, right? So if he was, I'm of the belief that he was actually trying to go to Egghead, but since New Kama Island is in the Grand Line, if you're launching yourself, you're not really like, especially if you're doing it willy nilly. Like he didn't really. It's like he just launched himself without calculating almost.
That's
so
true.
he couldn't account for the height of the red line. But it's like, it's almost. I think the reason Oda brings us this scene is because it gives Kuma those deep-seated, like dark memories of him being in captivity in the red line before he goes on to his next destination. You know, it's like everything in his character is coming back at once. But yo, Matt,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead, Recon.
Oh, my bad. I was just gonna say. So you think the beginning of this chapter, Oda had to put that in there because it's gonna have consequential stuff for, like whenever we get to the Bonnie and Vegapunk flashback, to where we needed the beginning of those deep-seated roots here for us to. Okay, I got you. For whenever we get to the
as a
flashback,
reminder of what he's been through, you know.
Yeah.
Because then you have all the citizens around him saying, "Wasn't he a slave? He escaped. What's he here for?" Yeah. What do you think, Mac? Why is he there?
Well, honestly, I feel like I'm getting a lot of Fisher Tiger vibes when Fisher Tiger caused havoc back in the days. But one thing I do want to say is I feel like it's really emphasizing the red line. That's one of the biggest like final saga One Piece theories, that the red line is going to get destroyed or something's going to happen with the red line. Like when we first got into One Piece, Crocus, we met him near the red line. So I think they're really trying to emphasize the red line and how monumental it is to the One Piece world, because One Piece is all about world building. So that's something I noticed personally. And with Kuma, I feel like Monkey D. Dragon knows, Vegapunk knows, it has to be something that's going to shock us. Like, I'm still shocked about the whole Raizo is safe moment on Zo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hyped.
And so you think this arc's gonna? Well, every arc has it, but so that's gonna be this arc's emotional twist. Is that
I think,
with Kuma? Okay.
Yeah, I think
got you.
Kuma's really gonna like do something, or we're gonna be like mind blown, because Ichiro always does this. We're like, okay, you can't do it again, yo. And then he just gets in his bag and he does it again. Yo. It's crazy, yo.
Yeah, there's always a lot of emotional impact, like especially in these smaller arcs. I've noticed that in mini arcs, to like kind of like ramp up the importance, there's always this like incredibly like lore building type of thing. The one thing that Kuma could also be doing is trying to find the treasure under Marijois, which is something that I had in the back of my mind for a while, that Vegapunk is trying to capture that treasure. And that's the reason why he went back there, considering that, or at least staying there to gather information. Like throughout the last few chapters, we know that Vegapunk is kind of been hated by Emu, I think specifically because he knows too much, and I think that it was a direct call from Emu to have Vegapunk like killed. Like I think that Emu sent people out there because he knows too much, and I think that what he knows is that Kuma has information on what the treasure is under Marijois. The same thing that basically gave Doflamingo all of his power. Like there's no other way for him to be like why would he be there? Why would he be sitting there if
That's a really, really good point, Chestnut, because I just remember that the first time we ever see Kuma, he's walking with Doflamingo.
Yeah, they do
And-
have vibes.
That's a good point.
And if Justin is right about going after the treasure, then that could imply that the treasure could have something to do with like the unlimited energy source that Vegapunk is looking for, which would be really interesting if the one thing they wanted to wipe out is like they're keeping that where no one else can find it. This unlimited energy source that could change the world forever, even though we all assume. Yeah, now they're hiding it. So I think that'd be super interesting if that really is true.
Yeah, we know that.
He's really going as like how to say this. You know how some people talk about the real world, how like there's things that are being hidden in the real world that we live day to day. I feel like Oda's really making us relate to that with One Piece right now, with Imsama, the Empty Throne, and everything that could be hidden from the actual civilians of the One Piece world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the treasure under Mary Joie is really interesting because it's something that we know exists, we know would have an entire impact on the world, but that's kind of it. And it's kind of just been in the background, except for like characters like Doflamingo bringing it up, basically saying if you even have knowledge of even a little bit, like you just have so much power over the world government. So it would kind of make sense if it was something as massive as this. Like even it could even be like even Vegapunk just like wanting to have an unlimited energy source is even a tiny bit close to what this treasure is. So it's like immediately you have to take him out. I think it's super interesting.
Yeah, it's the reason why they're sending. It's the reason why they're sending so many assassins towards the Flamingo and Impel Down right now, and Magellan's protecting him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody who has any type of information on something that could be hidden in Marijoa, they're executing them on site.
For real.
Crazy.
All right, next we get into the Vegapunks. You know, they're kind of having their. Actually, first, let's talk about this. What do you guys think of Luchi telling Stussy that he doesn't recognize Luffy as a Yonko?
That's just talk, bro. Yeah, you know, Luchi, especially their relationship. I feel like that was genuinely just a moment of not only a great moment for Luchi in terms of yes, like no matter how many times he gets whooped by Luffy, he's gonna keep coming back at him. That's one of the reasons why we like Luchi. But I genuinely feel like it's a part of like their relationship where he's like, nah, screw that guy. I don't recognize him as an emperor. He's still gotta see me again.
Yeah, I think he's just salty. I think he's just really salty because I mean that fight with Luffy was basically just him flexing. It was the same thing that Kaido did. Like where he just flexes on people and it's like he's not going all out. Like we know what Luffy looks like going all out, and he wasn't. He was just like, let me try out this cool power to basically mess around, and he's salty. And I think that it's also you're right. It is really similar to kind of like Enies Lobby in a way. Like if you look at the parallels back, I mean this entire arc basically parallels the interactions of Luffy with Enies Lobby because Luffy declared war on the world government, and then Lucci declares war on Luffy's like Yonko crew. So. It's probably just a callback to Luffy not really accepting that Lucci was stronger than him back in Enies Lobby, but still really funny. He's just salty.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought up that parallel to Enies Lobby because that was also the arc where we found out that fruits could be eaten by objects and about the names and that was also the arc where we of course got Robin's flashback, which is our first real hints into the One Piece world at large, but also the bigger picture to the Void Century stuff. So Oda was setting up a lot of stuff over there that's getting payoff now.
Even in the post Enies Lobby, that's when he meets Kobe and they talk about Vegapunk and his creation of the Sea Stone under the ships and how amazing it is, right?
Good point. Yeah.
There's a lot of Vegapunk roots in Enies Lobby.
And now it's like everything's getting paid off in Egghead, which is great. I love to see it. We love to see it.
Yeah.
To piggyback on the whole Enies Lobby parallel, that's why I feel like Rob Lucci, he's not recognizing Luffy as a Yonko. I feel like Rob Lucci might bring out something different even than the Awakening. He might have something else in his bag that could, of course, make Luffy at least try a little bit more because Luffy right now is not even trying. So maybe there's something to look forward to Lucci having something else, but I don't think it's enough right now for Gear 5th Luffy.
It's possible Lucci also wasn't going all out because he still underestimated him. You know, he doesn't recognize him as a Yonko. But the next time they do fight, if they ever do fight in this arc, I mean, it's going to be a rude awakening for Lucci,
guys,
honestly.
You guys know Kaku looks like Usopp, so we might see Kaku say, "Get up, Lucci! Get up!"
That would be the greatest parallel of all time. No?
You see that sky? Oh my god.
That would be so goated, bro. And then Lucci gets back up, and then instead of him like doing the jet Gatling, Luffy just one-shots him, puts him back to the ground. Yeah, sit down, kid.
Oh shit. Okay.
Listen, right? The only thing that I think that CP0 could possibly pull out is like augmentation. So I was actually talking to Larry about this the other day. Like there's unless like Lucci has gone through like something extreme, there's no way that he's able to just pull out an awakening. But knowing that Stussy is now like confirmed to be a member of MADS, what if her research and the reason that she's so close to Vegapunk is that she was working in like augmentation of devil fruit powers, specifically like augmenting them into having awakenings, and like it could even be to have them go further beyond awakenings and to have these powers. And it could be why Lucci's awakening looks almost like a mythical Zoan. because she's been
Ah.
augmenting them. I think that that's like a really cool thing. I've been trying to play around
Yeah.
a little bit. We don't know too much about Stussy, but I think it's
Yeah.
possible.
Definitely.
I think that whole thing might have even more weight if we do see Kaku awaken, because that's going a little bit overboard. If
For
I
sure.
see Kaku transform and he has mythical clouds around him, I don't know. I'm just gonna lose it.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah,
funny.
it's gonna be really, really sus. Like Justin was saying, like something's going on there. Stussy's doing something crazy, or something's going on. Because for Kaku, bro, if I see, like you said, a cloud around that giraffe, oh come on, man. Mythical
Holy shit.
giraffes, dude. It's gonna be a unicorn horn on top of it too. Like
That would actually make a lot of sense, though, considering that, like, we know that mythical, like Zoan and like regular Zone Awakenings, they always have the white cloud, but Luchi had a
Mhm.
black cloud around him. So if it was some
Yeah.
sort of like artificial thing, it could be like couldn't even replicate like the purity of it.
that's a
And
good point.
Yeah,
so
the
if we see black clouds around an awakened giraffe man,
Yeah, and honestly, remember when Kaku was first fighting Zoro? Like Zoro was so shocked that Kaku was doing all these things with the giraffe Dolphin ability. So
Yeah.
yeah, you know.
Oda doesn't know how animals work.
Yeah, for real. I love how in this chapter, Zoro took an attack that split Annie's like the tower and Annie's love in half, and he just like said, "Get that thing out of here."
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why are you still using the same attacks from back in the day? Yo?
He's like, didn't you level up, sir?
For real.
He didn't even recognize him with the sleep sand in his eyes. He's like, who is
Yeah.
that? Oh my god.
I'm looking forward to his reaction next chapter, or whenever it happens, where he's either going to call him Usopp or he's going to call him Giraffe. It's going to be one of the two.
Giraffe. Didn't I tell you you're fired? What are you doing back here?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next scene I want to talk about, because I am, Zakio 1, we see my boy Shaka, right? The logic man himself. And it looks like him and Lilith, they don't really get along, they're kind of like polar opposites, right? So while he's remarking like what are we going to do? How are we going to get out of this situation? CP0's really like got us cornered. You have Lilith on the other end and she's like, nah, let's just go and fight him. And then then you have Shaka kind of like informing them like, yo, don't get it twisted, man. Atlas may have fallen, but we're all expendable. So
Yeah.
which Vegapunk kind of seems like he feels bad for them. But
Yeah.
Lilith though, do you think that? I think that it's possible she may be the next one to get bopped.
You think so?
Yeah, because
That's interesting. I think she's going to betray them.
that would be crazy.
Whoa.
Both of
Like-
those scenarios found fascinating me. Yeah.
Because so if you're looking up, there's actually been a lot of parallels to the Garden of Eden, specifically with the creation of devil fruits. Obviously, there's the Adam and Eve tree. You can make assumptions with that, but Lilith in the Bible specifically kind of betrayed Adam, and I'm wondering if this is going to be a very similar parallel, like with Vegapunk, and that's one of the reasons why Ashaka or like good Vegapunk logic and her don't really get along, because she's Lilith or Vegapunk evil. So
She could be kind of like Vegapunk's dark side a little bit.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's my train of thought.
Oh, that's cool.
The dark side of a scientist is very dark,
Yeah, that's facts. Just look at Mayuri. And then
Yuri.
Yeah,
exactly.
like exactly.
Kind of like a callback when they first got to Egghead. She was being really had a standoff with them, the Straw Pirates.
She wanted to rob their asses.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Literally.
totally only wanting money. I also think it's really interesting that they'd be willing to take out Vegapunk, but like if Lilith was to betray them, they would still have Vegapunk. You know what I mean? Like she is Vegapunk. Therefore, you could kill the baddie of Vegapunk who's working with Dragon, and still have all of that resource and technology, and you could still use that even more so because it's just the incarnation of all of the desires that Vegapunk wants. I think it'd be really interesting.
It could be a situation where it's like a win-win situation. They leave with Vegapunk, but then the world government still has Vegapunk in a sense.
And she is connected to them on some sort of hive mind things. Like they're all connected. Like if Pythagoras comes up with an idea, Edison's the one who put it to the blueprint.
Yeah.
So Lilith would still have information to what they're doing outside of the island somehow, which is crazy. But it's just an interesting Vegapunk dynamic. If they do all get on the ship without like being picked off one by one, it's gonna be interesting to see how they interact on the Sunny Go. Just like
lot of
Lilith.
characters.
If Lilith doesn't betray him, then it's like so you have Sanji and Lilith. Like obviously he's like thirsting over her. But you probably have Edison being annoying as hell to everyone besides like Frankie.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, and
a lot of great potential dynamics there.
Then we get that scene of Vegapunk, right? He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna call this guy for help," you know. And that's another hype moment too, because it's another way, like, you know, a lot of people are going off the rails with theories about who it could be. Who do you guys think it is?
Go ahead, Chestnut Chibi. You were talking about this off air.
we were. Okay, so here are my two crackpot theories about who I think this could be. The first one is that it could technically be Weevil. We haven't seen this man in the story for a long time. They did say they, which could mean that there's two people, the mom and Weevil, who've maybe taken refuge on the island. Basically saying that they'd help Vegapunk out as long as they, you know, like help in times of need. The second thing is an even more crackpot theory that so just hear me out with this one, right? I think it could be possible that what Vegapunk did was technically split Kuma into two separate beings. The first one being basically a Kuma that's underneath with the same powers of the pawpaw fruit, but this is the person that's going to come help him, is like this pseudo Kuma made specifically for battle. The other part of Kuma that's basically free will is actually Vegapunk Shaka or Logic, and that he separated Kuma into two people, and that's why Logic there, like Shaka, was like, I approve of it, like, let's go. And like he's basically like trying to approve of everything because that's technically Kuma and the other person is Kuma. This has no basis. I just feel like this could happen considering that like Vegapunk keeps telling Bonnie that like, oh, like there was a reason, I swear, and it's like,
yeah, he's like, let me explain. And the fact that there's no way back, even for like a scientist like himself that could pretty much do anything and like that you can think of, I'm kind of questioning him, because I'm like, yeah, like you should be able to put him back, but there's obviously a reason why you're not doing that.
And I wonder if he just split his consciousness so much that's like there's no way to get Kuma back into one person. And that's like my thing. It's like I think that he just like took Kuma and, very similar to how he did for himself, split it across multiple things. All of his subservience to the world government in his actual body. All of his smarts and intelligence and his like basically revolutionary stuff is in Shaka. And it's like all of his protection and his strength into this person that's down below that looks very similar. So it's like it would kind of account for like the different body shapes and stuff. So like, because I know it like Shaka doesn't look like Kuma, but considering that what the other Vegapunks look like.
Yeah. No, I love it. And like our chat last week for the chapter, they came to a very similar conclusion in regards to the potential original Kuma versus the Kuma that we've been exposed to. Like we might actually see the original Kuma, whether we've already seen that character in the series or not. Like what the original Kuma unit would be, and I think that's such an interesting possibility, especially going into backstory, understanding why it is that Vegapunk had to do whatever it is that he did to Kuma. And as right with that possibility, another possibility I love just as much as that one is the reasoning for us not seeing the Denden Mushi is because it would have given it away right off the bat, which is if it's Sabo.
I agree.
And so, what we were talking about in the stream was it would make sense if it was Sabo, because where else could he go? They specifically were talking about him being a character that after coming off of Lucia, literally everyone on the planet knows his face. He's the Flame Emperor, the representative of the Revolutionary Army. So the only place he could hide would be here in like the basement, like Vegapunk's basement. And at first I was like, okay, timing wise, it doesn't really make sense. But then I thought about it. Who did we meet at the beginning of this arc? Bonnie. So if Bonnie was able to make it somewhere near Egghead Island, then why wouldn't Sabo be able to make it down here as well? And but it was very interesting how the chat was talking about that. All love to them. I didn't come up with that theory. That was all my comment section. But it was when they brought up the Sabo thing, I was like, wow. It makes sense. He has nowhere else to go. If we were to see his Denden Mushi, he would immediately be exposed. That would reintroduce him back into the story. Now we have Sabo with us. Like, it would be interesting stuff.
Yeah.
I agree. That's like another. I don't think it's a new character. I think it's a pre-existing character. So like any of the pre-existing characters that we know are hiding from the world government we haven't seen in a while, or just like people that haven't come back in the story. I think all of them are just like super valid possibilities.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, in terms of the whole Sabo thing, it relates back to why Luchi commented on this being related to Lelouch, because we still haven't seen what that connection to Lelouch is.
That's true.
Because this is happening
That's true.
after the Lelouch event.
Yeah.
And Luchi's like one of the smartest antagonists in the story, honestly.
For
Just
sure.
when it comes to deducing things,
Mm-hmm.
like how he deduced Pluton and Cuddy Flam's identity. And so, obviously, he's on the right trail here. So if it is Sabo, that would be a nice way to connect back to what Luchi said at the start of the arc.
Agreed.
Oh, you're right. Because you're right. He did connect that back. And I guess it would also make sense because if Vegapunk even knows any semblance of what Emu is, or that there's a person sitting on the throne, and like Emu knows that there's a chance that the smartest person in the entire world knows about it, why wouldn't you send your whole forces to try to stop that?
Exactly.
Like, because that's like, and he wants to share his knowledge with the rest of the world. Like, that's his big dream, is to basically create like Vegapunk records to everybody. So it's like, yeah, you're right. I mean, like if Sabo's there and Sabo was able to get the information out to Vegapunk, like that's it. Like you're done. You can't hide anymore.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be very interesting. I would also like to see Sabo again too. We haven't seen him in a while.
Me too. Yeah,
Also-
and I think
Yeah, real quick, I was just going to say, it also explains why Kizaru was sent there before even knowing that Luffy was there, right? Because if it was just Vegapunk, you'd figure CP0 could get it done by themselves, right? That's why Vegapunk needs help right now. But Kizaru being sent there means that it's for a really good reason. Because the last time he was sent somewhere, it was because the Celestial Dragons were attacked, which takes the highest priority, right? So it has to be something on that level. Who do you think it is, Mac? Yo, Mac?
It's, the person. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you
I can
go.
hear
I
you now.
think it's the person who's they're calling. I think it could be Smoker right now.
Mm.
I like
Oh
that.
yeah.
I think the fact that Tashigi was shown but Smoker wasn't is kind of strange to me because they're always kind of shown together a lot of times. So, and we do know that they went to see Vegapunk. We know Fujitoro was talking about SSG to Smoker and how Smoker was jealous that Fujitoro like took a stand against the Marines when he bowed down to King Riku. So I think this could be Smoker's moment where back in Alabasta, he even said he told the Marines, the higher ups, to like eat shit or something like that. I don't know the actual translation, but so I honestly believe that Smoker could do his final stand against the Marines in a sense because we're getting to the point where with Sword introduced that there's like a new Marine element coming into it where
Correct.
the good Marines and the bad Marines. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Dude, I love it. I at the beginning of this arc when Luchi, tying back to what Tozaki was talking about for the Luchi's internal conflict, deducing like what's really trying to, what really happened with Lucia, and that being his like whole thing going into this arc. If that turns into the plot itself, where he's confronted with somebody with an ideology that opposes his in like a in a Smoker, like what would happen there, especially considering what's happening. Yeah. No, wait, what would you say, Mac? It cut off a little bit for you.
Oh no, I was just fixing my mic. Not bad.
No, it's all good. No, but yeah, for Smoker and Luchi, I feel like that would be such an interesting dynamic to explore here and now, considering this is not only a government island, but for two opposing ideologies, but one of them is already starting to question exactly what they're doing here, whereas Smoker has always been solid in his convictions to stay true to himself. So I think it would be so interesting to see Luchi go against someone like that, even if they don't necessarily, I don't care if they box, but as long as they have a conversation, and that conversation at least is something consequential, especially with what's happening with Garp heading over there, which I know we'll talk about later, but the potential possibilities of Garp, Kuzan, Kobe, everything happening there. I feel like if Smoker is truly with Sword, then all of that's going to come to play. And this could lead into that.
I kind of feel like they're kind of trying to emphasize Logia's. Ever since Wano's kind of like the Zoan arc, I feel like they're trying to emphasize Logia recently. Am I the only one thinking that?
Yeah.
No,
I feel that.
I agree.
You're right.
I agree.
You're absolutely right.
It's actually really interesting because in the beginning of the series, we had that Logias were the strongest devil fruits. And it's like, basically anybody who had a Logia, like that was like a lot of the villains up until it kind of made a switch to Paramecias. And then it was like Paramecias were the big things because we see that like a lot of like Logia users are kind of like shed on them. Like it was like, oh, like they die really, really young because they don't really know how to use haki, and they get cocky because a lot of people can't do it. But once you get into the upper echelons, like a lot of them have paramecia, and then zones, obviously for Wano. I mean, like ancient zones were like candy over there.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna see the switch back specifically with Loki Awakenings, because I think that Loki Awakenings are insane. Like, so my personal theory is that it is a passive effect, and I think we saw it back on Punk Hazard, in which you can actually technically turn anything into a specific element forever. Like, and it'll always stay, and you can change the magnetic force of whatever place that you're on. And I think that we're gonna get a lot more into like the actual makeup of the Grand Line, and I think that Logia has technically created the Grand Line because of that. Like a Logia Awakening could create an island of lightning forever because it would change the entire landscape, and it's like you would have to actively want to change that back. So I think Logia Awakenings are just going to be insane. Like whatever we saw with like Luffy's awakening and like Kaido's, or not Kaido's, Doflamingo's and Katakuris, like it's not going to be anything close to what Kizaru has.
Yeah, and one thing we're seeing too is that with Luffy's Delphin ability, they're calling it back to the Void Sentry. So do you guys think that Enel's Delphin ability that was gifted, that he found on Burka, did someone in the Void Sentry have that Delphin ability and made that island turn into lightning forever? Who knows?
Oh, you're talking about like Raijin Island?
Yeah, Raijin Island.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think also the fact that all the the little androids, the automatons on the moon have to be powered by electricity. It's like almost made for somebody with the Gorgon no Mi to control.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And a spaceship like the Arc Maxim, he had to have found the design somewhere.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. Honestly, the Enel, I've talked about the Enel Power story so many times, but if you actually look at One Piece and you look at the panels, there are very few places that use electricity as a source. The majority of things are like coal energy, which is supposed to be like cola or like fuel. Half the time things are lit by candlelight or like by like oil lamps. So it's really interesting that like we see these facilities run by electricity, but we know that Vegapunk has access to Void Century stuff. It's just something to keep in mind when you're thinking of stuff like that. Like very, very clearly an awakened Logia was probably insane, especially like if this is stuff being used during the Void Century to power autonomous, and like they were so advanced. Like what other power source could they have been using? The only other thing is like an eternal flame source, like Fire Force, where there is that big thing. But
to piggyback off that, it makes sense why the world government who knows about the Void Sentry, their higher ups have a lot of Logia abilities. Look at Kizaru, look at Aokiji, look at Akainu, look at even Green Bull with the Force Logia Delphin ability. So maybe they know something we don't know.
They probably
it has to be about Awakenings, honestly.
You're right. Yeah. Oh, now, man, this conversation has me really excited to see what Kizaru is about to do here in this arc.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be the first Logia Awakening we're going to see on screen.
Oh yeah, and it's going to be insane. Could you imagine like a light Logia and passively turning things to light so that it can't really affect you? Like it's going to be we're going to see really quick why like the admirals are so insane. I think that the only reason we didn't see it during Marineford is because they didn't want to actually damage Marineford. And I think that they continuously say like the admirals are holding back. And they even said it during the attack on when Sabo attacked. Yeah, Mary Jo. It was like, oh, like what they had to hold back because they couldn't destroy everything.
That's
Like
it makes sense
Logia,
why PG and Akainu chose Punk Hazard as their dual, their
great point.
Because then they could destroy it.
Yeah, and even crazier, the two final like saga villains that we've been talking about for so long, like other than Immu, is Blackbeard and Akainu, and they're both Logias.
Yeah,
exactly.
Logias are the strongest.
Yeah, so to tie it all back to the whole Smoker being on Egghead thing, I think obviously we know he visited Vegapunk to get help with the children from Punk Hazard, and Smoker seems like the kind of guy who would be interested in what's going on with the world government right now, especially after everything that happened on Punk Hazard and the character development he got with him like trusting Luffy more and not having such a rigid mindset. One thing I always thought about Smoker was that his Logia was kind of underused or like underutilized, and the one thing about Smoke that people forget is that it is partly gas, and the reason Caesar's so dangerous with his devil fruit is because he's a scientist. So if Vegapunk was also like, besides just helping him find his moral standing ground. It would be interesting if Vegapunk's like, oh, you could do this with Smoke, you can do that, you can do that. Just teaching him all these different things he can do with Smoke to make him like a much more dangerous character within the One Piece world. But me personally, though, I would love for the person to be Scott Vegapunk. I'm not gonna lie. I've been in love with the idea of Scott Vegapunk for so long, and I always wanted to know, like, why do we get Rayleigh but we don't get Scott Vegapunk, right? It's always focused on the swordsman. What about the world's greatest axeman, right? You got guys like Sentomaru getting one-shotted, right? Lime Juice doesn't even use an axe anymore on Shanks' crew, right? What about all the axemen, right? Me and Mac have been going back and forth about, like, Scopper being the world's greatest axeman. And, like, we'd even joke, like, Sentomaru, if he ever joined the crew, that would be his goal, like, to become the world's greatest axeman. right? It's like, just imagine a panel.
Shout out to Axan Morgan.
Yeah, Axan Morgan.
That's Axan Morgan.
Exactly.
Gone but not forgotten.
Like, just imagine a panel of Kaido looking at Sentomaru, like, how far will he go? And it's just Axan Morgan, Scott Vegapunk, Lime Juice, all these axe characters in the story.
Yep. Yo, I love this Scott Vegapunk idea, dude. I really do. Because like Laz said earlier in the live chat stream here, that this arc has had also a lot of parallels to Sabaody, and since we met Rayleigh in that arc, it would be really cool if we met Scott Vegapunk in this one.
Yeah,
and...
former Roger Pirate fighting Kizaru again.
What?
He would be pissed off.
He would. He'd be like, I gotta fight another one of these guys. Oh my goodness! It's like Odin tried to fight two of them.
That would actually be really cool. Also, it would kind of give us maybe even a little bit more information about stuff that happened back during like Roger's time, specifically Void Century info. Or not Void Century. God, I mean, well, could be some Void Century from Laptop, but I mean God Valley. I want some God Valley information, and I think that what if the last poneglyph is on God Valley, and that's the last, like that's the island they have to find in order to get to Laftel.
They erased it off the map for a reason. Like, it's not like, I don't think it's destroyed, but they just took it off the charting maps. Yeah. And maybe even sort of like, because they have Vegapunk, they can mess with the magnetic field so that no log posts point to it. So you would need the destination to get there.
Yeah.
So Vegapunk joining Luffy could be like us going to like God Valley soon.
Oh, exactly. He's like, yo,
that would be so cool.
He's like, you want to know where the last poneglyph is? The last real poneglyph? That would be insane.
Yo, can you imagine? And he's like, it's in God Valley. Everybody's like, where? What?
God Valley.
And then
what in the world's that?
The One Piece OST plays, yo. So
yep.
Like, oh.
That'd be great.
So I could see God Valley being the last island location before like going off into the Great War and stuff, because I feel like the saga is going to be fit into like a couple parts, and it's going to be like the first thing is the race to get the poneglyphs. Like as we see, like everybody is racing to try to get the last poneglyph so that they can go. I think that God Valley is going to be the last location for the poneglyph, and then I think that the next island after that is going to be Lodestar. Because I think that that's where Shanks' crew is. I think that his crew is located on Lodestar, which is the last known island in the Grand Line before. So I think it's going to be Elbaf, a small mini arc, God Valley, and then Lodestar is how I think that it's going to progress after that. So if it was Scott or Gabon, like having somebody like that to push them off and kind of get them to my headcanon would be great. I would love that.
Yeah, just think about it. Lodestar is the furthest Shanks has been like on Roger's crew, because he never went to Raftel. So the furthest island he's been to is Lodestar, so he might have some like nostalgia for that island.
Yeah,
that's why I feel like Oda was trying to calm us down. He's like, yeah, it's the final saga, but relax. There's so much more for us to see.
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
I'm happy.
It's like
about
final
that.
sagas. Like we're in like the final like portion where there's just going to be so much stuff, because there's no like this is going to go on for another 10 years. I'm gonna be honest. he's not finishing this soon.
Yeah, I can't think back on it. Look at Punk Hazard to Wano, yo. Like we were building up the Kaido War for so long, and look how many arcs we got: Punk Hazard, Dressrosa, Zoe, Whole Cake Island, Marie, Wano.
I definitely do agree with you, Chestnut, on the structure, because whenever Oda dropped the 3 to 5 year thing, the original Paramount War saga, which was around 5 arcs, was a 3-year long thing, right, from 2008 2010. So in Oda's mind, he was like, okay, I got around 5 or 6 arcs in my head. I'm gonna go around for around 3 to 5 years. It'll be good. But we know Oda's never good with his time. But I do believe the reason why he said that is because he has multiple arcs before we even get to the Laugh Tale and Final War stuff still in mind. So it's definitely going to be more akin to the Paramount War saga than something like Dressrosa, which would be like 100 in just one arc, where it might be like 30 in one arc, 50 in another, 16 in another.
Jump on that recon, yo. Like, one thing we know about Oda, no one can rush him, yo. Like, Wano, we saw how long the arc was. No one can rush
facts.
Yeah, Oda said himself, the more he writes something, the more he adds to it. Like, as soon as he got to Sabaody, he just randomly made the Supernovas, and look how much like One Piece content that has provided.
Yeah, bro.
It's insane.
I still can't believe that Law wasn't in Oda's mind before that. I just can't believe that. Exactly. I can't believe it.
It's crazy.
And he's so influential to the entire story. This is what I'm saying. Like there's so much stuff that can happen, and it's like once Oda starts writing this, like we're probably going to get like a ton. He's probably going to split it up into like 3 different arcs. It's going to be like I said, the race to get the poneglyphs, which is I'm assuming that Vegapunk is probably going to, if he survives, that is, probably going to stay on the crew until the end of that. Then it's going to be the Paramount War, and then it's going to be the race to the One Piece. Yeah. I think that the One Piece is going to be last. I think that the war is happening first, in my opinion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of the Supernovas, real quick before we go to the section, I remember just me and Mac were talking about this because we said that we're having this kind of like back and forth about the Supernovas and how they were created in like a week before the chapter came out or something like that. I think Oda said, right? And he said the only one that he thought was going to be relevant in the story was Kid, right? And he said that Law, he didn't imagine Law becoming such an important character. So I'm wondering, like, is this with Elbaf, like in this is the next part of the chapter, right? But Kid going to Elbaf, is this that importance that he was talking about? Because Elbaf and Eustace Kid are kind of the 2 plot lines that Oda has been like teasing in the background. Like even in Wano, we didn't really get much of Kid. His we just now find out that he likes adventuring. Like it's a crazy part of his character that we didn't really get, you know. So what do you guys think Elbaf has in store for Kid?
So what you're telling me is when Oda was writing chapter 1040 and Kid brought a Spartan laser to shoot Big Mom down to the ground, he was like, "I'm cooking here." You know, like I just shot a giant down into the ground, and we're gonna have payoff for this in Elbaf, because that would be so cool if he was really like. Because you're right, both of course Little Garden has been hyping up Elbaf since like 1999 or something like that. And Kid, of course, being based off of an actual pirate, Oda probably had that character in mind as to being one of Luffy's rivals down the line. So for us to see potentially Kid's like shining moment in the same way that Laws was Dressrosa, now Kid's is going to be here in Elbaf, I think that'd be really great, especially considering the fact that Oda talked about this battle royale happening, which I do believe is going to be all the way around the world. But here specifically on Elbaf, for these 2 characters that both have relation to giants, that Big Mom herself shows up as well, it's just gonna be really nice just to have 2 individuals from the same era battling over potentially territory here in Elbaf. And if it's gonna be Kid's big moment, then let him shine, let him cook here.
And one thing I want to point out, me and Baby Pluton in the chat, I actually spoke to him about this before, but he said that if anybody's gonna get love in Elbaf, it's gonna be Eustace Kid for taking out Big Mom. Because him and Law are known as the pirates that took out Big Mom, and with their like long running hatred of Big Mom, it's more like they might mess with him even more than Luffy. You know what I'm saying? It's like he may have the giants on his side rather than Luffy.
Interesting.
Especially somebody with a magnetic ability, and the giants they're like covered in armor head to toe, right? They got their their Viking helmets, their Viking shields, the axe. Oh yeah, speaking of axes, Broggy, another one of the axemen.
Yeah, but one of the axemen.
Exactly. But yeah, it's like
shout out to my axemen.
I love that. Yeah. Kid could honestly be the new sun god there. Where they just like they just have him up all over the place. They're carrying him. They're like, yeah, Kid.
For some reason, I think Luffy will still get the love from the giants. Like,
of course. After a while, for sure.
Yeah, after a while, and the kid doesn't get even more mad. Like, I took out Big Mom, and you still love this guy more? Like, what?
Yo.
What do I have to do?
And Usopp. It's gonna be Luffy and Usopp giving the giants favor.
Oh,
yeah.
Exactly.
It would be. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it would be really funny if, like, when Luffy races there, like a ton of them are part of the Grand Fleet, because like Haruden went back and like just was like, yo, this guy is like crazy.
Mhm.
Like got a bunch of them on his crew, and now Luffy just has an entire crew of like giants
Mhm.
for his fleet.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I feel like that'd be so funny.
Or if it's like
Definitely.
an Elbaf civil war between like the ones that follow Kid and the ones that follow Luffy, and like
That would be
the
cool.
the prize here is like the winner gets Saul because
Oh
like
my god.
because Saul, like I don't like I like Saul and everything, right? And then coming back,
Mhm.
but look, man, Saul had that self hatred, right? He had that self hatred
Yeah.
when it comes to the Giants, so he may
Mhm.
not even be on good terms with them. Like
Mhm.
I'm talking about the hierarchy there. Like we know that
Gotcha.
the new giant,
Mhm.
the giant pirates came through and helped him, but we still have Loki there,
Mhm.
and we still have like maybe we'll get a Thor giant there.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a very very deep like arc with lots of moving parts.
That'll be
Agreed.
crazy. That'll be crazy if you
Right.
get a whole Loki versus Thor element where there's Prince
That'd be
Loki
cool.
and there's a Thor character. Like that'll be crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Prince Loki
Yeah.
sides with Kid's faction and Thor sides with Luffy's faction.
Mhm.
That'd be really interesting. I have heard, like I've been talking a little bit around about like perhaps that like Loki is in there, like the actual like mythology, like Loki isn't like supposed to be king and it's supposed to be Thor, and there's gonna be like a Thor giant in which Luffy sides with to eventually overthrow like Loki's side of the government.
Mhm.
So that could also be really interesting because it could be that like Loki really like messes with Kid. And then we could actually see Luffy versus Kid, considering that Luffy would obviously side with the one who's like rightfully in power,
Yeah,
which could be a really interesting dynamic.
I honestly believe that Kid versus Luffy will be kind of like Katakuri versus Luffy, where the fans will just love that fight because it's funny. Kid tries to act like he doesn't like Luffy, but I think deep down he actually does like Luffy.
Oh, he truly does, bro.
yeah.
You know he does.
Yeah.
They're similar in a way that they're both aiming for the pirate king status. Like even
Yeah.
more so than Law, they both have conqueror's hockey. They both have a love of adventure, and
Mhm.
both of them have right hand men that kind of like keep them grounded.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parallels, and I do think
Mhm.
that with this whole like equal 3 billion berry bounty between the three of them, that Oda's showing that Luffy may be broken right now, but the other
Mhm.
two are always going to be like right there with him, like eventually.
Mhm.
And like
Mhm.
Kid going to Elbaf first may be like that spark he needs to get even stronger.
I love that.
Unless Law is dead right now because Blackbeard
Yeah.
killed him.
Exactly. Like
Oh,
Shout out to
man.
Immortal Surgery.
yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Which brings
On
us
that
into the yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, my bad, bro. I was gonna bring up something that Mac and I talked about a long time ago in regards to the intrigue for Kid's character. In regards to whenever we first met him in Sabaody and he heard Luffy say that he's gonna find the One Piece, like that nobody else better try it because it's gonna be his. After Kid heard that, it kind of like sparked something within him. He was like, "Wait a minute, like why?" It was kind of like the Yamato scene from Chapter 1000 where he was like, "I'm not gonna laugh at such a thing. Like he
Mhm.
believes the same thing I do. Like I mess with that
Yeah.
guy." And I think that's gonna go a long way here in this next arc, like you said, in terms of the respect. Like maybe there's gonna be a scene or something on the line of like, oh Kid, like you already know you and Luffy are boys. Like you don't have to fight this out. He's like, nah, I got to do this. Like that's my rival on the seas, bro. I got to box that man. Like if I was gonna see him eventually, I got to see him right now. You know?
Yeah, Recon, I'm gonna be honest with that scene is like it's very underrated how great that
Yeah.
scene is of Kid. It's like in the anime they do it justice too because it's just quiet and he's just looking at Luffy like what. Like, this guy just say the same thing that I used to kill people for laughing at me for saying.
Mm-hmm.
They even get that slow motion faded background when like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That blue
Yeah.
faded background. Exactly. They give it a lot of importance in the anime.
For sure.
Yeah, speaking of Law and Blackbeard, this brings us to the next part where we see Garb, he pulls up, speaking to Doll, and she's like, hey, what the hell do you mean you want to go fight an emperor? Especially like with everything going on Egghead. Garb's like, I don't give a damn. He's gonna go save Kobe. He brings Helmeppo with him. Most likely he's gonna bring Hibari too because she was also crying.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Garb versus Blackbeard. That's huge.
That's huge.
Smoking that Garp pack, man. There's no way. He's done. But
Poor Garp.
yeah. It really is poor Garp. There's no way this man is surviving. It's going. What's gonna happen? I'll tell you exactly what's gonna happen. We're gonna see Garp go there, and he's gonna look like he's doing like a really good showing, and then it's gonna be the Akainu fist from Blackbeard directly through his stomach, and it's just gonna be like Kobe's gonna watch him die, and it's gonna be super emotional. and Luffy is going to find out through a newspaper.
Yeah, that's
And
gonna
like
hurt.
he will never have like because like unlike Ace, like he was there with Ace, he saw Ace and kind of even had like this connection where like Ace realized himself, accepted it, and Luffy was there so that he could accept it. I don't think that Luffy's going to be able to accept the fact that he wasn't there when his grandfather died, and it's also going to give him a lot of like force and like anger towards Blackbeard that he really needs because at this point he has more anger towards Akainu rather than
Yeah,
Blackbeard.
easily.
Like, he doesn't, yeah, he doesn't like Blackbeard, but like if it was between him and Akainu, like for sure he's going after Akainu. Akainu is the one who killed Ace, not Blackbeard. But if Blackbeard like captures Law and kills his grandfather, and like at like Kobe comes back, I hope that Kobe's missing a limb, like an arm, an eye, like would be really
An eye
cool
would
because
be
maybe
cool.
even like an eye and like just totally scarred, and then Kobe comes and he's just like, "I'm so sorry, Luffy. Like I couldn't stop it." Like
No, Vita comes and says, "Kobe, why did you look at him?"
Yes. Oh, that'd be peak. That'd be peak. Like,
he's so good.
Honestly, I'm noticing a trend here. Oda loves these older characters like Whitebeard, Rayleigh, Garp, and then he has them run into Blackbeard every single time.
Exactly. Blackbeard's a senior citizen bully right now.
He's a menace. He really is.
He is. It's about to get really wild, man. Like because the thing is, right? I've been thinking a lot about this whole Big Mom thing because obviously she's the most or what's gonna happen with her crew is one of the most interesting parts in this final saga. And right now there's a scenario where they either head to Elbaf to take care of the Big Mom situation, or they go to get Pudding. Like, Pudding's there by herself, so it's like, what is going to take place? Are we about to have another God Valley incident where Katakuri pulls up trying to rescue Pudding, and then Garp is fighting Blackbeard? You have Kuzan and I know Helmeppo said he wanted to take a Seraphim with him, so does a Seraphim unit also come with them? And it's just going to be so much chaos that you're right. In the midst of all of that chaos, Kobe, while attempting to do something great, he watches as Garp dies before him because maybe Blackbeard does do an underhand tactic, or he just defeats him straight up, whatever it is. But as long as Kobe's there to witness that, while in the midst of all of that, it's gonna be amazing. And now it looks like this is going to be the events, kind of like the Ace versus Blackbeard was for the Marineford arc. It looks like whatever happens here, anything that happens, whether it be Law dying or Garp dying or whoever dies, gets captured, whatever it is, this is what's about to really kickstart the final saga. Like at whatever happens here in Hachinosu, because at this point everyone has a stake in this.
We're gonna need my boy Jinbei to talk to Kobe after this one.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
I could see Kobe after this going to the Straw Hats and asking for help, and like Sword, because I think that Sword is the revolutionary front of the world government. I think that they have been trying to reform things from the inside, but after the incidents that's happening, especially after what happens in Egghead with Vegapunk, I think that Sword is going to make their move. And Sword is going to probably side with the revolutionaries, specifically with Luffy's crew. But I think that it's going to be like Kobe's going to come and be like, listen, like we have to try to stop this stuff. I think that first they're going to want to go after Blackbeard, but there's going to be an issue because I think that Akainu is getting taken out first. So I think that there's going to be the world government is going to just like completely clamp down and go hard after Luffy. Like it's going to be like he won't be able to go onto an island. With anybody, which I think will be really interesting because I'm assuming that one of the smaller arcs will be Luffy going to an island and seeing the world government chase after him, trash everything and destroy it, like just in the hopes of trying to get him. And I think it's gonna make Luffy mad, and he's gonna be like, I can't believe that I'm bringing this. So the only thing he'll have to do is like go to the world government and try to stop it, because at this point he's not free then. I definitely see this, especially with then probably like Sword and stuff coming through, basically saying like this isn't right. Like we can't just like Buster Call every island Luffy's on. So I see Kobe and Luffy teaming up very soon.
Honestly,
I love that.
I'm with Recon here a little bit too with the whole Katakuri thing because let's be honest, Katakuri, he's opening his phone right now. He's going to Instagram Live. He can't even open it because so many people are saying slide for Pudding. He has to go there.
He has to.
There's no way Kuzan ran up in his territory while he was fighting Oven because he was high off gas, right? There's no way that he's going to forgive that, especially somebody who cares about his sisters and his family like Katakuri.
Not at all. Not at all.
He most likely, especially his little brother Cracker being frozen, like like
Mhm.
while he's fighting Oven. That has to be a personal vendetta. Like think about it, right?
I know he's thinking. I know he's thinking. I wish it was Flampe.
Exactly. Like just think about it though.
Oh.
He goes to Hachinosu, right? You have Garp. Garp can't handle all the Blackbeard pirates with just Hibari, Helmeppo, and some other marines, right?
Yeah, okay.
So
Yep.
Katakuri being the one to hold off Kuzan, and that would give Kuzan an excuse to maybe like act like he's going all out because he's
For
not really
sure.
fighting any marines.
100%. Mm-hmm.
And that
I
would just
agree.
be a cool fight to see, especially Katakuri. If this is the thing that makes him develop Conqueror's Haki coding, like that would be amazing to see. And
Yeah.
and it would even make sense for Pudding because Pudding Bully's Big Mom's gonna come for her, but she doesn't. I don't think she realizes how much Big Mom puts personal vendettas over family. Like, I definitely think Big Mom is gonna know about the Pudding situation and like, nah, I have to go to Elbaf and get used to this kid first. Like, and Katakuri will be the only one that comes for her with maybe some other Big Mom pirates, but.
That's going to make me love Katakuri so much. The fact that he pulls up solo dolo on Yonko territory to get back one sister. Like, that's my boy. If he really does that, that's my boy.
Mm-hmm.
I can see Katakuri becoming a Yonko at some point.
That would be amazing.
Like I think he has the temperament for it, especially because he's really similar to Luffy. But I do like the thing about Aokiji going all out, because I think that if he was going all out against Garp, he couldn't. Because obviously I think that he's undercover.
Yeah.
But like see him go out against a pirate would be really interesting. I do think that Kuzan is probably going to have a part in killing Garp in the end, though. I think it's going to be a really emotional scene.
I feel like we're going to get a moment of like Garp trying to get to Kobe, and then Kuzan's had to stop him, and he's remembering all the moments like Garp and Luffy and Marineford.
Yeah.
There's so many Marineford parallels.
Yep.
Oh, it's going to be so good.
It's gonna hit different, especially like you said with the Aokiji stuff, because then it's gonna be two individuals who are gonna be personally impacted by this, and Kobe and Aokiji, and then they're both gonna have to come to some sort of conclusion after this. So like, what do we do from here on out? Especially if Kuzan really is a member of Sword, because now it's like, okay, we just let one of our own die, like under our watch, and considering all of these individuals were also at the Rocky Port incident, it's like that's not a coincidence. Exactly. Whatever was cooking then is also cooking here. So it's like, what is Oda really?
We're definitely
really
getting the
here?
Rocky Port incident flashback within this arc because
for
you
sure.
have the Marines, Law, Blackbeard, and Kobe all in the same area. You definitely have to give us the flashback at this point.
100%.
He's so good.
And honestly, I feel like Oda's making us bring back all of like our favorite Marines, where like we have Smoker and Aokiji's friendship, Kobe and Garp, like Aokiji and Garp, so many different dynamics when it comes to like these Marines that we see no really true evil in them, you know?
Agree.
Yeah. So that's 1071. Honestly, what do you guys think about the chapter as a whole, though? Like, great chapter, insane. Like, what is it?
Kind of nutty. Kind of nutty, TBH. It was really good.
Starting off the new year.
Yeah. He always Oda always starts off the new year with some sort of banger, and this one was much more different than the past couple of years. The past couple of years have been character moments, like defining moments, where we had Roger had a defining character moment on the first chapter of the year with the He Laughed. Then Red Rock, another great one for Luffy. Zoro had a phenomenal one last year. But now we had one that was like one of his around the world chapters inside of an actual arc. So I found it to be more of a chapter really setting up the rest of the, not necessarily the year, but for like the weeks to come. Like and I found that to be very interesting in that regard. Not only was it a great chapter in of its own, but it really set the tone for what is about to be an insane 2023. So it was a great chapter, man. Like I can't believe we got a chapter like this in the middle of an arc. This is normally a post arc chapter, you know,
in the middle of the chapter in the arc. Like
it just
kind of dedicated half the chapter to the rest of the world.
Some of my favorite arcs are like Jaya, Zoe. It's giving me that vibe where like we're getting crazy stuff in the arc or Reverie.
Yeah, so I Egghead has just been bad in 100 lately. Like I don't think there's any chapter in Egghead that's below an 8. Most of them I just rated 10 out of 10, even just for the lore that's getting dropped. But a chapter like this that, like, it almost feels like we got a full arc in a single chapter. There was so much stuff happening. I mean, I mean, this is like Revelations, like what was happening with the Reverie. Like it feels like the Reverie all over again because it's just like there's so much stuff happening like with the rest of the world, which is why Oda is such a great author. Like he's able to tie so many things in and have so many things going concurrently and like remember them. So it's like things that are happening in the chapter, like oh shoot, like Kuma going, we get more flashback of that. What's happening with the Marines? Even the stuff that's happening with like Bonnie and Vegapunk, Elbaf confirmation, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insane.
Oh,
I just
yeah.
I just
Can I
love.
ask you guys?
Yeah, go
Can I
ahead.
ask- I'll be honest, yo. The whole Bonnie Vegapunk thing, I'm like, yo, get it over with, yo. Like, I'm tired of seeing this stuff with Bonnie and Vegapunk going at
Like
it.
hating each
Come
other.
on, bro. Yo, bro, you,
Look, one of them has to win in this war. Because I don't feel like there's
Dude,
no win.
dude, you already
I
know
think
there's
it's
gonna be
gonna be
no
crazy.
winners when the flashback happens, and
You
it's
think
gonna
they're
be
just
all of us.
start sobbing together during their
The
own
Sabi,
story.
yep, yep, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it. Oh, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
no, you got it.
I was gonna say, I was actually talking to my friend CD, and we were talking about crackpot theories about Bonnie. It's really interesting how similar Bonnie and York are, and I'm wondering if Vegapunk actually created Bonnie and she was a failed experiment. Because if you look at the way that York and Bonnie eat and their mannerisms, they're really similar. Like they also are like look very similar.
They do.
And because of the connections between Kuma and Vegapunk, I don't think it's too out of the ordinary for like him to have like been like this isn't a perfect recreation of what I want and throw it away and maybe even give it to Kuma or something. That's like his daughter, like transfer his daughter's consciousness into this robot because I don't think we've ever seen Bonnie like injured. Like she's never been like injured to the point where we don't know if she's an actual android or not. Which could be why Vegapunk's like, hold up, let me explain. Because it's probably something crazy like that, in which it's like, you know what I mean? Like there was something that was going on. And it's like in order to get Bonnie like this, like Kuma decided to give up his humanity as well. And then, you know, so yeah, it's gonna be a tearjerker.
You're cooking. You're
Yeah,
cooking.
I'm mad like Kuma doesn't randomly have a pink haired child like with you know like they look nothing alike. They like shape nothing.
Yeah.
She's normal sized. It's just weird. Like she's either adopted or created by Vegapunk. It's something. There has to be something there.
Or just takes from the mom on an extreme end.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
there's something from the.
Well, we know moms don't exist in One Piece.
That's true.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's a fantastic point. Speaking of that, in the chat earlier, they were talking for the Stussy conversation. They kept dropping a Sora, Stussy and Sora the possible connection. What do you guys think about that? The Stussy and Sora possibility about the two of them being one person.
I mean, yeah, it's very well. The same person is it might be stretching a bit, but I do definitely think there might be something there just because they're you go based off hair color, you might find yourself in some ditches here and there theory wise, but when it comes to Stussy and Sora, both of their connections to scientists and just the blonde hair, I believe Sora has blue eyes, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, and it's like there's definitely more to Sanji's mother that we haven't figured out yet, besides her just being a woman who's sick in a bed. Like even back when the Germa comic, like why did they name the hero of the story Sora? It makes me think that Sora, like Stussy, were people from the world government or the Navy, and that's why they modeled Sora after Sanji's mother, or just a name, I mean, because like that's possibly how her and Judge fell in love, because like they were on two opposite ends, and possibly how Judge was able to escape prosecution from the world government, because Vegapunk got arrested, but Judge didn't. So we still don't know how he was able to escape. Man,
yeah, that's a great point. That would be awesome if we actually like dive into that. That'd be really cool.
Bro, there's so much we could dive into. It's crazy.
Yeah.
There's a lot. My only thing is I don't think that Sora was the Mads person. I definitely think that was Stussy, considering that she's wearing the same like leggings. Like if you look at her leggings, they're like and that's just her style.
Agreed.
But on the point that maybe they could be related or like family, even
sisters
would be like sisters could be interesting. It would also be interesting because Stussy was on Whole Cake, maybe to look after the entire events because there was some sort of family connection.
Good point.
So, and I don't think we ever saw Stussy react with any of the Vin smokes. So it could have just been maybe like looking at afar and just kind of seeing, and maybe even just like looking at Sanji. Will be really interesting to see if there's any sort of thing, or if Stussy like goes to Sanji at some point and is like, oh, like you look like your mother or something like that.
Yeah,
that would be crazy.
She really does look like the aunt at a wedding too. So like I could definitely see the like what Oda was going for there if he actually was planning it from back then. Because at this point, like you said, Stussy really didn't at the time. The only thing she was doing was just reacting with Big News Morgans. You know, and she really didn't do anything else besides introduce a certain part of the underworld to us. And then of course we found out she was a member of CP0. But if there really is a relation there, and he was cooking from back then that's just insane.
Yeah, because they could also then explain why Sora and Judge got together. Like if there was family connection with Stussy, introducing them and getting them along, like, you know.
Yeah. Also, it would explain why Stussy and DeFeld kind of seemed like they knew each other, because DeFeld was the person sponsoring Mads, and when Stussy comments that she hadn't been to a wedding in a long time, and then DeFeld cuts in like, "Oh, how long ago was that?" Like implying that she's older than we think. They definitely have a connection. If that's because of she was the member in Mads, then that would be interesting on a whole nother level.
The importance of Stussy has grown so much since Whole Cake Island. It's crazy how important of a character she's become.
Yeah,
she's great. I love Stussy. I think she's really interesting. There's so many directions that character can take, especially if my awakening theory, in which like they're fake awakenings and she's been forcing that, is true. Like I'm hoping, because it's gonna be it'll be the first like female scientist that we actually see who's like actively, like super important, actively doing something. But it's also going to be really cool because that means that there's going to be some sort of like dilemma between like probably her and Frankie and Chopper, which I think might be a really cool matchup to kind of see, or even just like her and Chopper, like Chopper being like, why are you doing this and forcing this stuff? And like maybe even her to be like, well, what do you think your rumble balls are? Like haven't you been doing that? What's the difference between me and you? And it'll be like an ethical thing. It'll be really cool.
I would love that. It would be just like a Chopper's battle with Dr. Hogback, where, you know, questioning what are you really doing here as in your occupation, and that'd be interesting. I would love that. It would be great for Chopper too.
It's so cool.
We're noticing, especially like Oda's bringing these female characters that were really important back in the days, like Shaki, how she's the former empress of Amazon Lily. Like he's bringing them back to the forefront.
Yeah, that was a major reveal this year. Or last year. I couldn't believe it. I was like, man. It's not that I couldn't believe it. It's just it was right in front of our face. We just didn't catch it. It made so much sense once I saw that who Shaki actually is. I was like, oh, okay, that makes everything make sense now.
Yeah, and our last topic before we end the stream, because this one I was really rattling my brain, or like thinking about like who this could possibly be. But who turned off the defenses to the Frontier Dome? Because that by far, that shit came out of nowhere. The fact that even CP0 are confused that should happen, it's like, I can't even think about it. So you guys try and enlighten me on who this could be.
It's Lilith.
That's Lilith?
Lilith.
Yeah, she's gonna betray them all.
She's a traitor.
That would be
She's Conjuro.
She's Conjuro. He's the imposter. Oh man. Yeah, it's so interesting, right? Because the way the chapter was structured, you don't believe that Oda was trying to imply the same person who's undone than Mushi is also the person who turned off the thing, right? Like, you think they're two different people?
Yeah, I think they're two different people because the way they were surprised by it, if it was the person, then it would be like they would have to use their logic and be like, oh well, he has to turn off the defense to get out from where he is, or he or she is. I definitely think it's another party that hasn't been introduced just yet.
That's the case.
I know my boy Paddock in the chat saying it's Lafitte, which would be crazy because that is Lafitte's forte, getting in somewhere and turning shit off and turning shit on without anybody noticing.
Wait, that would explain why Blackbeard only brought like a few members. Oh, like why we only saw a few of them over there. Oh, that would be insane, bro. That means Blackbeard is cooking on like a completely different level right now.
Exactly.
Blackbeard is the smartest person in the One Piece verse. Don't at me. He
Yeah,
really
he
is.
needs something from
Yes.
Vegapunk.
And
Oof.
that's the one thing too. In Jaya, like Blackbeard had Q, Burgess, and
Yep.
of course he had Von Augur, and then he had
Mhm.
Lafitte doing his own things in Jaya. It could be the
Yep.
same thing Egghead, where he's battling
Bro,
Law
he-
with his guys.
Oh,
and then
that is a direct. You're right.
Bro-
That is a direct
bro,
thing.
He had Lafitte pull up in a place with Dofi, Mihawk, Kuma. Like, that's
Yes,
how much
sir.
Blackbeard believed in him, bro.
Yeah.
He was like, yo, go do your thing.
Nobody-
do your thing.
nobody
I've
even noticed
been a fan of. I want Lafitte to
Yeah.
fight Sanji. I feel like Sanji and
They-
Lafitte moved kind of the same way.
Ooh,
Dude,
yeah, that'd be really cool.
I think Luffy is definitely the other. Like if Shiryu is going to be his right hand man just based off strength, then Luffy has to be his left hand man just based off loyalty, because we know whenever somebody doesn't even call him by the right title, he gets pissed. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's Commodore to you, right?
Yeah.
And
He even
even
said-
before
he even
that,
said
even
that-
before that, when they captured Bonnie, and Avala Pizarro said that he should become the captain, Lafitte looked at him like, "Don't ever say that again, or else I might have to kill you." So, Lafitte versus Sanji, they do have parallels with them always just sneaking into places and breaking shit, similar to Sanji and the Arc Maxim.
Mm-hmm.
Or even Eddie's lobby.
Yeah,
Yep.
He gives it justice.
That'd be such a goated fight, man. I'm down for that.
I honestly, I think that if it is Lafitte, I think Sanji could fight him right here, and we could get even a preview of just like.
ooh, nice.
Oh, let's
You know
get
what
it.
I mean?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, because
that's-
Zoro's fighting Kaku, so let's have,
Mhm.
Sanji go in. Yeah.
Yeah, because the wolf man whose name I can't remember back from Enies Lobby, like he's not here anymore. Like he's not even a part
Jabra.
of TPC. Yeah,
Yeah.
irrelevant character until Oda brings him back
What
in.
do you
and
mean?
he's
That's
like,
Robin's brother.
oh my god! But
You know- You know what's
Yeah, like,
crazy? Lafitte's Delphin ability is like kind of like, isn't it like a siren or similar to that, or something like that?
Well, we know he had wings at one point randomly for some reason.
There's like
So,
theories that
we still
could
don't
not
know
be
what
like-
it is.
People are
Lunar area.
having a mythical zone or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Blackbeard's crew is just interesting. All of this stuff is
Mhm.
cool.
Mhm.
I love it. There's so many possibilities for this chapter. It's genuinely one of the best chapters that Oda has dropped in a long time, and that's
Yeah.
saying something considering we just got Gear 5 like 20
Yeah.
chapters ago.
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
is just blows away expectations because of the amount of like stuff that's going on. Like you're right. Like the traitor, everything happening with Bonnie, what's happening with the world's government at the moment. I mean, like there's just so much stuff to go over. Like the fights that are going on. Like we didn't even talk about like
Chapter
Zoro
1021, we could have made this a 24-hour Void Sechi podcast episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's how good it was.
look,
Yeah.
man.
It-
We got,
Yo.
definitely a lot of content. What's up, Rico?
No, my bad. I was gonna say that Lafitte thing blew my mind though. That was I didn't consider that possibility, and like now that we have that possibility, it makes sense as to why Oda and his Jump Festa message was like, "Yo, this is about to be a free for all battle royale that you're not gonna believe certain matchups are taking place." That like at this point in time in the story, because if it really is Lafitte, once again, like you said earlier, him pulling up by himself solo dolo with so many other incredible, like capable individuals, and while he himself is on a high quality mission. Like I already love Blackbeard Pirates, but if this is true, oh man, I'm gonna be fanboying all over the place. Like this is crazy.
I'm gonna get a
The only thing that can make
I'm still mad that Zunisha like left Wano. Like he better smack up Sanwan Wolf, yo. You better give him the tribute. Yo.
listen, the only thing that could make this even better is if the world government decides to just say like F it and Buster call the island. I'm gonna be honest. With
man.
everybody on it, all of a sudden like Kizaru's like on the island and then they're just like F it and just Buster call the whole thing.
Like they just
That
found
would
out
be
something
insane.
we didn't need them to find out. Exactly.
And then they're just like it's not worth it. And then there's like this scramble to get off the island and there's only like one ship left and it's like the straw hat
Exactly.
ship.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I would love that.
All right, though. That brings us to the end of the stream. Right, everybody in the chat. I want to thank you guys for staying here for as long as you guys have. Make sure you guys like the stream. Show your support. And as on the topic of Blackbeard, I do have a Blackbeard video dropping soon, man. It's gonna be my longest video, which is it's not saying a lot, honestly. My videos are only like 6 minutes. That's about as far as I go, honestly. But my Blackbeard video is gonna be way longer than that. But what do you guys have coming up? Let's start with Chestnut. You got anything?
I am like working on a theory vid with Larry. That should be coming out in like a while actually, because I have my medical boards that I'm taking in the 11th. So like after that, content will be coming. Maybe I'll scale Nami to Universal. Who knows?
For real.
Ooh, that's what we need.
What about you, Recon? You got anything coming up?
Yeah, man, we're cooking right now with we just finished the chapter of the year results, and now we're going into the episode of the year for 2022.
Yes, sir.
Poll and results coming in soon because it was a great year for the One Piece anime. And then directly after that, the next time the series goes on break, we will be doing our first official community voted results for the arc rankings. Now that Wano's over, hopefully Egghead will be close to its conclusion by that time as well, and we'll be able to rank all of the arcs. For the first time in years. We haven't done that in around 7 years, so that should be a really exciting time over on the channel for the One Piece greatness.
Yes, sir. And what about you, Mag? Anything?
Well, me, I don't know right now anything to say, but I'm just excited to see what you guys are gonna drop. I'm excited to see you guys' content. Support you guys, and one thing, I'm just excited for next chapter. Honestly, I'm just waiting for next chapter.
Yeah. Yep. So good. We got like 3 weeks to go, man. 3 weeks. There's some more on there, right? 2 weeks? 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
Man, I listen, man. I need the next chapter tomorrow, honestly, at this point.
Same. I need Oda to drop it in my mailbox like Lafitte, bro.
Oh, bro.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, this has been a lovely stream. I'm glad I had you guys on. I feel like this stream, for sure, we definitely talked about the most theories. And, yeah, it's been great. All right. Thanks for coming. We'll be back here next Sunday with more special guests. And yeah, I'm out.
All right. Peace, guys.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Yep. Okay.